Hi, I'm Heather from booktubes, and today is the standalone video for Return of the Thief, the sixth and final book in the Queen's Thief series by Megan Whalen Turner. We will have a brief spoiler-free section here at the beginning, and then it will be mostly a spoilery discussion of this book and the series as a whole. So in this book, we are introduced to a new character, is a young disabled child, which is of the nobility. However, he has a genetic condition that runs in his family. This is a disability that he was born with, and he is not the only person in his family to be born with. However, usually they are killed in infancy or as children, and he has not been, kind of out of spite. And his nurse knows how smart he is, but she knows that that was not enough to save the other children who had been born with this condition. They were also incredibly smart, and so she has had him play an idiot kind of for his own protection. So while his physical disabilities and his inability to speak, all of that is genuine, he is mentally very capable, and we see right at the very beginning of the book that he actually becomes a scribe and is writing the history of what happened. So he is our narrator as an adult. So we know that he survives, but he is plucked from his family estate and brought to the palace in Anatolia, and there he sees the events of the final conflict with the Mede Empire, which are trying to colonize these three countries. And so because of that, that's why he's there, that's why he saw it all firsthand, and this is an account of what he saw. So this is all from his perspective, but it really focuses very heavily on the final conflict between the empire and these countries that they're trying to colonize and the resistance against that. There's quite a bit of battle, as well as a lot of political maneuvering and trying to survive. The gods are also very involved in this book and in the destiny of the countries. And we do see the thief again some in this book. He has not been as prevalent the last few books, so it's really fun to get to see him again. It's a great finale, well done. I waited many years for it to be published, and I was really satisfied with it, and it really just ties everything up in a satisfying way. It's not a neat bow, it's not without any risks or sacrifices, and it's not an all-powerful main character that is able to just single-handedly save the world, and I like everything about it. So that's it for the spoiler-free section. I'm going to talk about the Return of the Thief. So I think that this has a lot to say about how disabled people are viewed as lesser than. They're not treated as whole humans. They're not even viewed as whole humans, like in people's minds. They just kind of treat them like a piece of furniture or like an observer that is not capable of any of their own thoughts or of deceit or of anything. And obviously Ferris is able to use that to his advantage, but it's a detriment against society, right? About ableism. And I think that the way that this book starts out kind of really shows some of the nitty-gritty and is an ugly mirror up to society and the way that we treat disabled people and the way that we think about them, even when we're perhaps trying to be kind. And I think that that is a really good thing to have in a young adult book. I think it's good to have in books in general, but I think that sometimes you need to see yourself or your reality reflected and it not be sugar-coated. It needs to be shown to be reprehensible. My favorite parts of this book are definitely the parts where Eudenides is the thief again. I absolutely love when he is captured by the Medes and kind of tricks them all and is able to single-handedly wreak havoc in their encampment and in their armies and just deal them such a blow there. When he is talking to his allies' ambassador after he has realized that the allies are not coming, and he tells the ambassador that he better hope that they win or that he dies, because if not, the thief is going to be coming for every single one of their rulers. When he is following the directions of the gods, when he is kind of rebelling a little bit against his position as High King. I like all of those parts. I also really like that we get to see that the Adesians are not a perfect society, that they have always feared this thief in particular, that they had planned on killing him, that they did not trust him to be a king, and also that he was so determined that Edis would not lose her position and that they would not be able to use him to undermine that, and he was willing to physically and emotionally put himself on the line for the people that he cares about. I think that we see that over and over and over again in this series, and it was no less so in this final book. I also absolutely loved that he wanted an elephant so bad that the queen was able to give it to him. I'm so glad that Nahusresh died and that he died in an anonymity, and that we don't even know who killed him, but he was so determined that he was going to have all of the power and he died with nothing. I think that it is really valuable how Eugenides could not just do whatever he wanted, and that he could not shape the countries and the conflict into his own desires. He had to abide by the guidelines, by the limits that the gods gave him, and if he lost sight of that, then he would lose everything that he valued. The only way that he could come out on top in this conflict was if he did follow the gods' guidelines, and he was used by the gods. And I like that not only is he not the only human that is making a difference, but also that really the only reason why he is able to do what he is doing is because of the gods' favor on him, and that only goes so far. He has to still do what they want him to do. But he does have free will, and he can make mistakes. He could easily lose it all and throw it all away by making the wrong decision. And I think that made him more real and more human in this book. I, of course, love that Atolia was able to have twins, and that they had the king and his thief in their twins, and also that Edis also was going to have a baby right there at the end, because obviously for them as rulers, having an heir was very important. I'm glad that we got to see that in the end of this book after so many books and so many years of following these characters, and that being something that they desired and wanted. I'm glad that it wasn't just an instant cure or fix, but it was ultimately kind of the end result. The final book is rarely my favorite because it has to focus so much on the resolution of the conflict. The big, grand, overarching plot has to be tied up. A lot of times you have battles or wars or just, giant things where you're focused on the plot so heavily and you're missing a lot of the character moments that are my favorites. While there's not as many character moments in this book, it still, to me, is such a satisfying conclusion. And I really appreciate kind of all of the things that Megan Whalen Turner emphasized and put in these books, and kind of talked about just human nature and the way that we view people and the assumptions that we make about them, and how Eugenides' real strength has always been that whether you are a queen or a prince or a servant or slave or able-bodied or old or young, what have you, he is able to see you as a person and not just as your position. And I really think that that is one of the tying thread lines basically throughout this series of Eugenides having these relationships with people because he views them as people. And I think that this teaches a lot about power, about what you value in people, and how everyone is worth valuing regardless of what they can do for you or what you think that they can do for you. And I just love everything that she did about this. Side note, I woke up this morning and remembered that this video is supposed to be posted this morning. So here we are, editing. One of the main reasons why I like Eugenides is that he's not a goody two-shoes. He's not perfect. He is not someone that everyone views as this paragon of virtue and morality and kindness. He is kind, but I like that he is ruthless. I like that he is mischievous. the parts of his personality that are sarcastic and clever and wily and off-putting, those are big factors on why he's one of my all-time favorite characters. I didn't really mention that in this video, but I like the conflicts and kind of counterpoints in his personality. Yes, he sees everyone as people, and yet also he is a world-class hater, right? Yes, he is someone who will be kind to someone beneath his notice, but he will also not be afraid to put the powerful in their place, while he himself is the powerful, right? It's not even a class war because he is the upper class. And yet, he's just more than that. You see him as a whole person, and he's my type of person. I like those types of people. My favorite parts are the characters, but the plot and the social commentary is so great. It really, really is. So honestly, I think that's all that I have to talk about for this one. Goodreads has been messing up the Kindle highlights and won't let you show any highlights longer than like half a sentence. It's very frustrating, honestly, but you know, this is my all-time favorite series, and while this is not my favorite book in the series, The King of Atolia is my favorite book in the series, and then The Queen, and then everything else is kind of after that. It is such a good finale, and one that was really what I hoped for, especially with the return of the thief himself. And I am so glad that I was able to make these videos and do this read along, and so I really appreciate every single one of you who watched any of them or who read any of them, and I hope that you were able to enjoy these books as well. But yeah, this is kind of the end, and I'm just really glad to have done this project. So thank you so much for watching. Bye.